Hello, my name is Nadine. For those who don't know me, I'm one of the leaders from Wild and Free. So today's reading, if you want to read along, I'm reading from the NIV, and it is Colossians chapter 3 verses 12 to chapter 4 verse 1. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Wives, submit to yourselves to your husbands, as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything, and do it not only when their eye is on you and to curry their favour, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Is anyone who does wrong will be repaid for their wrongs, and there is no favouritism. Masters, provide your slaves with what is right and fair, because you know that you also have a master in heaven. So I think the bit that stood out to me the most from this passage was from verse 15, so about the peace of Christ. And I think it's partly something I was reading recently about a routine, I forgot the word, that somebody recently picked up, and it was about how every time they sat down to pray they would breathe out their anxieties and breathe in the peace of Christ. And I just think at the moment, especially this week for me personally, there's been a few things related to the current situation which has caused anxiety in my heart, and I really appreciated the words of let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. And it is about letting Christ rule in your life as well. And I think it's just so important that this person was describing it as every time they sat down to pray, and to me that's it's a practice that you've got to keep on taking up, because yes, you can feel God's peace, but the world isn't in this sort of peaceful, calm state, normally anyway, in my mind at the moment. And I think that it's a practice that you have to keep on actively doing, and it's something that you choose to do. And I just think that it's such a good reminder that when you're feeling anxious, then you can breathe out your anxieties and breathe in the peace of Christ. And another bit also popped out to me, and that was the bit about whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. And I know that in the context it was on about slaves working for their masters, but trying to take the Bible as a living word and letting God breathe it into my life, for me that was speaking about work isn't the same for most people at the minute than it was a month ago, maybe longer for some. And I just think it's so important to remember that work isn't just the way that society sees it today, as in this is what I do to earn my living and that sort of work. It's what we do in everything. So your work could be in your family home, for your neighbours or whatever, and just remembering that everything we are doing in our lives is a way of serving Christ. And I just think that at the minute so many people I talk to feel discouraged because they're desperate to be able to do some stuff. I have friends in London who are so desperate to join in medical trials, but they just live that bit too far away. And I think that everybody's just wanting to do more to help, but society, obviously different situations, and everyone's in different places, they may not be able to. And it's just remembering that whatever work you're doing, whether that is just loving on your children and trying to do homeschooling, or whether that is serving on the front line or trying to help your neighbours and praying for them, then that work is for God as well, and we've just got to do it with our whole hearts. Yeah, so that's what I took from the verses this week. I just want to end in a prayer. So God, I just want to thank you for your peace in our lives, that you can breathe in peace when the world seems so crazy around us, and that you can calm our anxieties in a single breath. Lord, I ask you to be with our full parish this week and just breathe your peace into our lives as we carry on doing our works for you. Lord, bless our hands. Let us remember that everything that we're doing is for you, and let us do it to the full of our ability. And as we do this, Lord, bless the work of our hands. Amen.